Hello my friends, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today I want to share with you the thing that probably saves me the most time when it comes to taking care of my chickens. And that is this watering system that I've set up. It's super cool. It's based upon something that some friends of ours over in eastern Idaho built for their own chickens, but they have a lot more. So I adapted it to our chickens. Right now is actually a great opportunity for me to make a little bit of an upgrade to hopefully prevent the little nipples from freezing up in the wintertime. We'll see how it actually performs, but that also makes it a perfect opportunity for me to rebuild mine and show you exactly how I did it. For this project, all we're gonna need is exactly what you see here on the table. I will use 2 pairs of pliers simply just for screwing a couple of these together. It's nice to have 2 pairs of pliers. We're going to need some nipples that we can use for the chickens to actually get their water out. These ones are supposed to be freeze resistant, right? It's not gonna work if you live in a like super cold climate, but here where, you know, it freezes, it should help quite a bit, especially because I do put a warmer inside of the bucket that helps keep the water itself from freezing up. So the only real problem we have is right at the nipples where they would freeze up and no more water for the chickens. Then I'm out there every day refilling their water and cleaning poop out of it, which kind of sucks. Anyway, this also comes with a drill bit that's the exact right size. I'll link to this exact set. It comes with, I don't even remember how many of these. We're gonna have to open it up to find out. More than what I need. I'm gonna put 4 on mine. It says use 2 to 3 nipples for up to 6 birds. I've got 4 on my current setup and that's working just fine for me. So we're gonna go with that. All right, there's the drill bit. Okay, this came with 5, which is plenty. So yeah, these are a little bit different than the ones I currently have on my feeder. In fact, the ones I have are right here. These ones kind of hang downward, and then as they bump this, it lets another drip of water. It just always keeps like a drip of water right there on the tip of it. These ones, they come bump that and they get their drip of water right there, but you put them sideways like that. We're also going to want to use a 1-inch hole saw to drill a hole. I'm not going to need to drill the hole because I already have a hole in my bucket. I'm rebuilding the one that I already had. Speaking of, you're going to want a bucket or some kind of water container. You could use any like water container that you want to. You could use those 5-gallon watering containers if you want to. This is just a cheap 5-gallon bucket and it's been working great. We're going to use a drill because we have to drill some holes. And then let me tell you what I'm using for my pipe. This is just a 24-inch section of 1-inch PVC. It's schedule 40, so it's the thicker stuff. You can see it's not like there's the really skinny PVC. I like the thicker stuff, holds up a lot better. It doesn't crack as much in the sunlight nearly as quickly. I'm gonna use a 1-inch coupling. Now, the specific components I'm using here to attach it to the bucket, I've tried a couple different ways, and this one worked absolutely the best for me. The coupling is going to attach to one end, and then the next thing that we're going to do is add this 1-inch to 3/4-inch bushing adapter. So what that does, this 1-inch adapter fits inside of a 1-inch coupling, but then it comes out to a 3/4-inch inside our female thread. And then on the other side, we're going to use a regular 3/4-inch threaded to not threaded adapter. With copper, we call it sweat, but I don't remember for PVC if it's called something else, but it's like what you would glue on. So the bucket is gonna connect between here, okay? And I found this to work perfectly. And then this opening that's here on the end is gonna be perfect for the water coming in and flowing. Now I do kind of let this, I don't totally let it hang. I rest this other end on something, but I do let it slope a little bit downward. So, I mean, I'm showing it to you, not really slope downward, but to the side. But here, there you go. You can see now it's sloped a little bit downward. Maybe not quite that much, but I do want the water to be able to flow and fill the pipe. On the end, we're gonna put a cap. Now, I'm just trying to give you the materials list, but I've basically shown you how to do all of this. I also am gonna use this is a 1-inch O-ring. That O-ring is something I'm gonna put right here when I actually put all this together, and that's gonna help seal this and prevent water from just pouring out the bottom. The other thing you could use if you can't find a 1-inch O-ring or you already have some laying around, you could use some silicone, just some silicone caulk, right? So I would use probably like window or kind of bathroom, something that's made for heavy moisture and something that's really water repellent. I wouldn't use like your regular paintable, what you would use on the outside of your house to fill in gaps, that kind of stuff. A little bit different kind of caulk. All right, let's go ahead and put this thing together. It's actually quite simple. Like I said, I've already shown you basically the whole thing. With one exception, I haven't shown you actually putting these little nipples on. So let's start right there. When we do this, we want to keep a few things in mind. One, that while this far end with the cap on it is going to be resting on something, and so, for me, it's resting on a stick, and so I need the closest one to not be right at the end, okay? Likewise, this is going to be coming through kind of the fencing, in my case, about right at this end of the coupling. So if I put one about a couple of inches in from where this coupling ends, I'm going to be in pretty good shape. So that's kind of my space. So I'm going to put one here, and then just kind of space them evenly between there. I also am going to put them all on the same plane because in my chicken coop that makes sense. This is going to be running kind of along the back of the coop. If it were kind of more out in the middle, I might put 2 on one side and 2 on the other side. Just do it however makes the most sense for you. And you'll see I'm clearly not like overly obsessive about the spacing. Now I could have done this on a drill press, I could have done that with a jig or something that would hold this in place, but we're keeping it simple, folks. Simple. No need to complicate. All right, if I were making these like all day, every day, I would probably do that, but I made this is my second time making this. You just don't need to do it very often. All right, the way that these work, you can just screw them right in. If it's like something with a thicker wall, which this might kind of be, the recommendation is to actually use this on the back. But of course, I can't get my fingers inside of the PVC pipe to attach this little nut on the back. So we're just gonna screw it straight in. The tricky part I found the last time I did this was getting them to start. This PVC's, it's thick and hard. So getting those threads to start is tricky. There you go. Once we get it going, no problem. Now again, I'm coming in this direction. So for you, it would be this way. And I want this part that sticks out right there, I want that to be on top. So just as I'm tightening it down, that's something to keep in mind. Okay, that's looking good. Okay, I'm gonna put the other 3 on, and then I'll show you just finishing it up and putting it all together. Cool. Now, I may have to actually, because the way I do this, I run it kind of through their fence. I may end up having to actually finish assembling it for real there in person rather than here, but I'm gonna assemble it right here now for you just to show you. First of all, there's the cap on the end. I'm gonna press it on and give it a bit of a twist, and that's gonna hold it on pretty tight. I'm doing that and I'm just not gluing it, and that gives me flexibility in the future to reuse these parts if I wanna make a change to the system. But also, it's not under pressure. And since it's not, okay, it's under 12 inches of water, maybe 15 inches of water of pressure. It's just such a low amount of pressure. I don't really get leaking out through the ends. If you do get a little bit, just kind of twist it on a little like that, and that's on there pretty good and tight and solid. Likewise here, we can do the same. If you want to glue it, you can. We use PVC glue on water pipe all the time. Run some water through it after you're done, after it's dried, so that you rinse it out, and that way the drinking water is reasonably clean for your chickens. And that's totally fine, totally up to you. I haven't, and it hasn't been an issue so far, and that's allowing me to reuse the parts when I'm just replacing this PVC section so that I can replace the nipples. And really, I probably could have used the same PVC pipe if I wanted to, as long as the holes were either smaller or about the same size. Okay, next, we're gonna take this bushing adapter and we're gonna stick that in, and it can go all the way in. And that's gonna be in there pretty good. Like, that's kind of tough to get out. I had to use both sets of pliers to separate those before. This seems to wanna come off most easily. This is probably the one I'd be most likely to screw on there. Plus these couplings are super cheap. All right, next, I'm gonna take the 3/4 inch adapter and I'm going to just put my O-ring on it. Again, you could do without the O-ring, and you could just put it all together and then just put a bead of silicone caulk on the inside. You could do it on the outside too, and that'd be just fine. Basically, I'm just gonna stick that through. And the cool thing is, by drilling my hole right at about 1 inch, it makes it so I can literally kind of screw this through. It doesn't leave a ton of extra space, which is pretty cool. Now, I probably could have gotten by with one set of pliers here, maybe even 0, because I can hand tighten that pretty dang tight. But I can also use the pliers here to have one hold this on the inside, and the other on the outside, and really tighten that down. And that's gonna tighten down on that O-ring and prevent leaking. That joint right there is probably it definitely, from my experience, has been the spot that's most likely to leak on you. Again, this is loose enough, I may end up just having to glue this one in, and that's okay with me. So I'll go ahead and do that when I set it up at home. But now we're good to go. So at this point, I could put it in place, fill this up with water, and test it, and it should work just fine. There is one more piece here, and that's just a lid for your bucket. Obviously, we don't want a bunch of crap falling in here. So I fill up the bucket. For the 3 chickens I have at my own house, this lasts a couple of weeks. Yeah, obviously, you're gonna wanna check on it fairly regularly, but it lasts a long time. But the bucket, you'll notice, I just cut, I think I just used a utility knife, but I cut a slit, 2 slits here, and that allows me to have this little flap. What this little flap allows me to do is I can leave that closed, but I can run the cord out of it for the heater that I have. Here's a warmer that I use. It just sits right in the bottom of the bucket. And here in Idaho, I mean, this last winter, it got quite cold. I mean, I'm in the Treasure Valley, so it's not like incredibly cold, not like it gets in some parts of the state. But I never, ever, ever had any issue with the water freezing, except right, like I said, at these metal nipples where, I mean, there's no water flow through here very well. It's very slow flow. And these are gonna get really cold because they're completely exposed to the outside. So I'm hopeful that these ones that are supposed to be resistant to freezing, they fix that, and that they allow this one warmer that I have in here to be enough, and not have to figure out like some sort of pipe wrap or something. There's a bunch of options out there, but nothing that that I love. So I may have to keep looking if this doesn't work. I will say there are other ways to do this. My parents have done something similar, except they just put these literally on the bucket. That works great too. The only issue with that is then the bucket is inside the chicken coop. So to refill it, I have to go inside. Not a big deal, but this is just so convenient that I like it this way.